from the NBC Tower in downtown Chicago. AEW and NXT go to war on Wednesdays. Jake the Snake is back on national TV. Stone Cold's ready to celebrate 316 Day. And let's get too sweet with NWO. We got a lot to get into on today's WrestleZone Daily. Oh yeah, the Elimination Chamber's on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Scream it from the heavens. Get on your Twitter. Get on your Facebook. You want to rock the TikTok? Put it on MySpace. We're in your top 8. That's right. I brought up MySpace. I am Kevin Kellum. Joining me as always, once again, a lot more healthier, all right? Less mucus in the lung.
Less mucus. Not fully gone, but less.
But the undefeated Robert DeFelice in Tampa Bay. He is hunkered down, avoiding all the infected folk. And I'm talking about one Mr. Robert DeFelice. How you doing, Robert? Great to see you looking good again, bud.
I'm feeling a little bit better. I don't know why we're not worried about scurvy. You know, we got pirates.
Scurvy. It's Pirate Town. Yeah, that's going around here. If you're with us live, we got a lot to get into on today's show. We'll talk about AEW and NXT. A lot of big stuff coming out of both shows yesterday. I know, Robert, you checked into AEW. I checked out NXT. We'll cover that within the show. We have Elimination Chamber on Sunday. We have a bunch of big Hall of Fame returns. And it's the Thursday show, so we tend to go long on the Thursday shows. Robert, wow, just a lot to get into on today's show. If you're with us, share the link. If you're watching live, all you have to do, I can look right now and see there are quite a few people watching live. Every single one of you, all you have to do is simply share the link. Copy your URL, put it on your timeline, maybe share it with your wrestling buddies. If you have a wrestling thread or a Facebook group, you can do that. If you're with us on YouTube, hit that like button, smash and subscribe. And, of course, subscribe to the WrestleZone radio podcast. Thank you so much. We recently saw a 29% increase in our overall downloads over the past month, so we really, really appreciate that. A lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. Stone Cold Steve Austin is set to return to WWE television. He's been pretty active with the Broken Skull Sessions, which is like his new interview series. He's had a couple of these on WWE.
Right.
Back with podcasting, but I thought this is very clever marketing by WWE. Every March 16th, you know, our Twitter timelines are filled with gifs of Stone Cold dropping people, like dropping sons of bitches with like a stack of dimes with Stone Cold stunners, throwing back them beers, sup a beer for the working man. But 316 tends to be my day due to numerical lineup with my badassery. That's not a great Stone Cold impression.
I think it's amazing that Stone Cold riffed on the Bible one day in June of 96 and now owns the numbers 316.
He owns them.
They're his.
He has taken them. Yes. A lot of people joining us here. Savan Vavar, let's go WrestleZone Daily. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. A lot of familiar faces. If you're with us for the first time, get your comments on screen. We love seeing the new people, too. So Stone Cold on 316 Day. Genius idea. Writes itself, right?
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't done it before.
Also, this will be a few weeks out from WrestleMania. So I wonder how Stone Cold will be utilized to really build to WrestleMania. That'll put us about almost 3 weeks from WrestleMania time.
My assumption is that he's either going to hype up the man, Becky Lynch, or maybe he's going to screw around with AJ Styles, who seems to be on a collision course with The Undertaker.
Yeah, I think Stone Cold is going to be used in a not so much mediator, but middleman hype mode for one of the big angles. I definitely don't see him just coming on the show. He doesn't seem like a guy who would want to come on the show and just do the, hey, how's everything going? He did that at Raw 25, and that was cool. But I think he's a guy who has purpose, and when he comes on, he wants to do something that moves the needle, even if he's not going to be having a match. And somebody's taking a stunner. Somebody's getting a stunner, I'll tell you that.
All right.
Maybe him and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has been dropping them stunners or something.
You know what? I forgot completely about Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins. Maybe Kevin Owens drops Rollins with the stunner and Austin drops Buddy Murphy. That'd be cool, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. They're not the only WWE Hall of Famers set to return to television. WWE pulling out all the big names to kind of get that star dusting across the road to WrestleMania, and that would be the NWO. They will be on this week's SmackDown on Friday night on Fox, set to appear in a moment of bliss with Alexa Bliss, Kevin Nash, Razor Ramon Scott Hall, and X-Pac Sean Waltman. What do you think of them being utilized here? I mean, obviously they're going to talk about their upcoming induction as a group in the WWE Hall of Fame. Is there anything interesting you think they could do with these guys on SmackDown?
Now that you're telling me they're with Bliss, no.
No, I mean, I think that's just a serviceable way to get them on television. And if Alexa's not having a match, that's how they use her.
Well, what do they do? I assumed that they were gonna put the bad mouth on Reigns or maybe hype up Reigns, considering Reigns is gonna deal with Goldberg. But
wait, who is that again?
That's Goldberg. But maybe we get a little bit of Firefly Funhouse. Maybe we get a little Bray Wyatt. Maybe we get a little. Oh man, I'm so happy to see you guys. I want to see Alexa Bliss stand next to Kevin Nash.
The height difference there is going to be real big.
Yeah, that's going to be a moment. That's going to be a moment in itself.
What if Kevin Nash did the whole bet he would do with Shawn Michaels, where he would hold his hand up really high as a 7-foot tall guy?
I don't think
run and give him a high five.
I don't think Alexa's going to make it. Maybe a little help from the medium sized man. The Razor gives you a little boost.
In terms of Stone Cold and NWO popping back up on television next coming weeks, once again, NWO this Friday, Stone Cold set to appear on the Monday, March 16th edition of Monday Night Raw. A lot of people with their different takes here. Nick Baston texting and saying Steve Austin will be involved in Drew Brock contract signing. That's what he sees it going.
Well, that's an idea. You hear Brock, Brock is super into this rivalry with Drew, and I think it's comforting. It's refreshing.
Mark Deal texting in here. Mark, thanks for joining the show. First time I've seen your name. Do you guys see Austin wrestling again in the future? No, I would say at this point that's ruled out. If we were going to see Stone Cold have a match by now, I think you would have already seen it. I think he's somebody who's had more than enough injuries. He's had injuries just doing those little spots for WWE over the course of the past few years. And I don't see it in the cards. I see someone getting a stunner. I see Stone Cold caring about the things he does on television, and he still does with the network and the podcast. The guy's still a professional in TV, but I just don't see him having a match. That's not in the cards.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. Other people, Jonathan Parchman, he's saying, I said it first. Stone Cold and Kevin Owens versus Rollins and Murphy at Mania. I said it first.
You know what?
We just said he's not going to have a match.
I mean, yeah.
I don't blame fans for wanting it to happen.
Austin would be Rollins would be a really cool guy for Austin. I'll say that.
Here's the thing. All right, so you put it out there. Jonathan texted in with this situation saying, you have this in here. A tag match, I guess, is doable. I mean, because if it's a tag match, does he really have to take a bump? Does he have to do anything that would put his injuries? He's very well documented neck injuries at risk here. This is guy who's also had shoulder surgery. He's had knee surgeries. He's had numerous different injuries, and those are the reasons why he's not in the ring. Mostly his neck. But it is a scenario that makes me think, okay, it's not going to happen.
Stranger things have definitely happened. Bryan came back. Edge came back. Edge came back after 10 years. That's very shocking, but we're rounding the corner to 20 with Steve, so I don't see that comeback happening. However, what if this is the setup for Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins in a submission match or an I Quit match?
Like some type of angle or something
like in the same vein that Austin had his breakout match with Brett in the I Quit match. So
that's true.
There's money there.
Yeah.
At this point, they've been fighting for 4 months. I don't want to believe that Rollins and Owens are just going to have a one-on-one, no gimmick match.
Yeah, there needs to be a caveat there, and there needs to be
some flavor. You know what I mean? They got the base, they got the sizzle, they got the steak. We need to see some butter sauce going on top of that steak.
You're right. They
Gotta
got
sauce it up.
Got
And
sauce
maybe
up.
Austin helps sauce it up.
And Owens versus Rollins seems like the destination. It's a match that's done on TV a lot. So if you're going to do it at WrestleMania, what's the difference? What's something you can make different? Is Stone Cold a referee in this match? Stone Cold's played that part for the better part of 10 years.
I think he's played that role to the hilt. I don't.
You're right.
I don't see that happening. Not that I'd be opposed to Stone Cold Steve Austin doing anything at WrestleMania. Stone Cold Steve Austin, I wish he'd do more just in general. Like, I miss Austin.
And a lot of people with different takes here. So Stone Cold set to appear on the March 16th edition of Raw, NWO this Friday. I think it'll be a little bit more interesting to see what Stone Cold does. NWO, I think it'll be a fun moment. I agree with you. I see them having some interaction, though, with Roman Reigns or Goldberg to kind of hype up that match since, Goldberg and the NWO, they have some history.
Yeah, they do. I think a lot of people think that lasted longer than is portrayed on television. Goldberg came in, ran through Hogan, and yes, did lose to Nash with a little bit of help from Scott Hall, but there wasn't a long-standing rivalry there. I do think they will play off that because Goldberg's a WCW guy. Hall and Nash being in the NWO, they're WCW right now. So there'll be something there.
Mm-hmm.
It's still, I'll be that guy. It's a little underwhelming.
What is a little underwhelming?
Like, how are you building towards Reigns and Goldberg? You're just like, it's a thing. And
I've heard a lot of people poo-pooing on this match. Poo-pooing, I say. Poo-pooing.
I'm not poo-pooing on the match.
You're poo-pooing.
I'm poo-pooing on the build. I'm poo-pooing on like, we can take some time and put pen to paper and figure out a way to make this a compelling build. I think we've gotten to an era where we're just like, look at that match graphic. Isn't that a sexy match graphic? That's the build right there. Look at this match graphic.
Yeah, you're okay. I see what you're saying. And they did bluntly announce the match. They just simply had Goldberg come out, say who's next.
I'm next.
And then go, and they set it up that way,
The big dog.
Yeah, the big dog. And they went that direction. It was pretty blunt in comparison to other things they've done. But they also did the same thing last week on SmackDown with Cena and The Fiend. It was pretty simple, like it was just face-offs. Here are the matches you're getting. I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, they don't feel like Mania feels like Mania this year. I think a lot of people get comparisons to the build to WrestleMania and WWE, and it's always like, I remember when they built up Hogan versus Macho Man. And I remember when they built up Austin versus Raw. And it's always fans in their 30s or 40s. But if you talk to fans in their teens and 20s, they're all about this because I think people need to get the old school stuff in terms of story building out of their heads because there's so many more pages to tell. There's so much more television to do every week. You can't just give away everything right away. You need to tell a longer story. And sometimes you have to have that opening chapter that's a big bang, and you got to keep it hot. And I think they've done that with Orton and Edge. That storyline, I think, is the hottest right now for WrestleMania.
These are fair points.
Yeah.
And I will say Orton and Edge is a long-term storytelling thing.
Yeah.
I will say that about a match like even Lesnar and McIntyre at this point. But we're not telling a big bang here with Roman versus Goldberg. We're like painting a finger painting. We're just like, oh, but doesn't this look cool? I want substance. I want there to be a reason for these men to be fighting over the championship.
We have time to get to that. You know what I mean? We have time to get that. This was simply just a rocket start. Last week was just the first chapter in a story that's being told,
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think like Goldberg and Reigns, I'm a little bit more interested in Cena versus Fiend because we haven't seen John Cena on television in a long time.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest with you. It felt really like, even I can crap on the Goldberg Reigns thing. This one just felt like, we know we don't got much time with John. Go point at the sign. And because you could have told that story in different ways. You could have had a Firefly Funhouse interrupt John Cena. You could have had a lot of different things. The fact that they just had the Fiend go, there? And he's just like, I know I just said I don't want a match. But Yeah, and it's like, what happened there? He took me through a roller coaster of emotions, and then it ended in a fart. Like it was very strange. Like,
What a way to describe it. A roller coaster of emotions that ends in a fart.
yeah, it's just like, you know, I don't know. I wanted a little bit more, especially like John came back, and the place went insane. Like they were ready for John Cena.
Yeah, it's Boston. It's his hometown.
I feel like we just got. All right, he's going to be there, and we might not see him again for another 3 weeks, but we'll get him one more time, and then we'll get him at Mania, and then hopefully get him and
He's the Rock now. He's in that territory. You know, you work with what you got, and let's hope they can get the most out of it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's also it's the first thing. You know what I mean? Like we're already like mad at them for something they haven't done yet. So I'm sorry if I'm applying logic. You know what I mean? Like that's all I'm saying.
Not mad at you for applying logic. I'm concerned that they might not.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. And they do get wishy-washy with things like that. Some stories they get very logical, other ones they get a little bit more loosey-goosey. Let's get into last night's AEW and NXT. Want you guys to sound off on what you liked. Don't tell me what you hated, because everyone can tell you what they hate really easily. Tell me what you liked. What was your favorite match? What was your favorite moment? I got to cover NXT. I really enjoyed it. Really, really fun show. I thought the billing of 2 cage matches, bookending the opening and the closing the show was very, very smart. It felt like a little mini pay-per-view in that regard. Of the 2 cage matches, I thought Tegan Nox and Dakota Kai did themselves some real favors. They started their feud at War Games with Kai turning on Tegan, these former friends that both came up and rehabbed their knee injuries together. And this cage match I thought was really, really clever. I always mess up her name. Is it Raquel?
Raquel Gonzalez.
I always mess up her name. I don't know why.
No, because she was Reina Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mae Young Classic competitor.
Yeah, and they altered her name a bit. So I like the addition of the heater outside the cage. They did some things we've seen in cage matches before, because the cages, can you escape? Can you go through the door, or can you do the pinfall in the ring? You know, every cage has those different rule changes, right? The cage looked really cool, and that small set too. The way they shot it looked really neat. They did a lot of teasing on the top of the cage. And I love the idea of Raquel pinning Tegan as she's trying to escape with the door, pinned her again to the side of the cage with the door, really showed off her size and power.
That's clever.
And it was very, very clever, and something I've never seen before in a cage match, where the door keeps someone from getting out instead of allowing them to come out. So it was very, very clever, very, very violent match. And it was something that Dakota Kai needed, a more clear-cut, I'm evil and I will use my monster pal to do evil things. Thought it was really fun. Also enjoyed Oni Larkin and Danny Burch going to distance with Undisputed Era. Those guys have had great tag team matches. They beat the snot out of each other. Yes. All Day Austin Theory had a pretty strong victory here, and something he really needed. He needed that. And he needed to get going after getting whooped by Tommaso Ciampa. I'm surprised with NXT. Everyone wants to make comparisons about AEW. They have no problem doing the risky things of going with newer, fresher faces now, going into WrestleMania season, which is kind of a surprise. They have their big takeover matches for WrestleMania weekend with Johnny Gargano. He had a really great promo, maybe the best promo he's had since he turned heel. With Mauro Ranallo in the ring, going off on Mauro, going off on the fans who think they know him, but he really knows himself. You don't know me at all. I like that angle. Overall, strong episode of NXT. The ratings, though, are still in AEW's favor. Obviously, everyone wants to talk about the ratings. We'll get them out of the way. And AEW is the winner once again. This one, a little bit more of a definitive victory. AEW drew 906 viewers overall. This is up from last week's 865. It was number 5 of the night on cable. Showbuzz Daily also reporting that NXT is up from last week as well. They did not win the night, though. They drew in, excuse me, I just had the thing scroll away from me. Where am I?
718, I believe. Could be wrong on that number.
Viewers, and this kind of stays steady with the number they had last week, but overall competition in general for cable was better. AEW getting number 5 in the night, NXT getting number 20. And they had a 2.3 rating. AEW took the night, though, with a 0.35 rating in the male demographic, that 18 to 49 demographic everyone wants to get. AEW wins that, and they win the overall rating. But both shows up, which is a good sign.
Right now, NXT, in spite of the fact that they're building to a WrestleMania match in Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair.
Did you like that promo where they did that whole vignette where they filmed her inside the Tampa Bay Stadium? I thought that was kind of neat. It was kind of like, hey, let's give you a little bit more of the real life. And isn't this cool that you get to bring this championship for the first time to WrestleMania? I thought that was neat.
I think it's cool. I'm still of the opinion, and we'll talk more about this as we get closer, that if Rhea Ripley wins, it doesn't elevate NXT, it elevates Rhea Ripley. And then the championship will just go back to NXT when the time is right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're making a star out of NXT here. I think NXT is firmly a third brand, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
But the problem is they want to make it, perception wants to make it a bad thing because NXT is playing with fire. Because AEW is over here, and they got former WWE champion Dean Ambrose as their guy now.
Man, that's fan stirring it up, and that's fan conversation online. And how does?
But I don't think that perception is bad though.
No,
like, there's nothing wrong with what NXT is. Just because it's up against AEW doesn't mean it needs to be any more of a main level brand.
No, it doesn't.
And but I'm sorry, you are not.
You think because WWE tends to be more reactionary to things like that, right?
Yeah,
a lot more reactionary to it. And AEW's term is that we're not going to be reactionary to NXT. We're only going to react to our fans. But how many AEW fans savor the idea of wanting to say it's better, it's better, it's better?
Well, the fans are a different animal entirely. Yeah. They are a toxic breed of something else that I'm not speaking when I speak of what the brand is and how the brand is perceived. Right now, for me, AEW is probably the best hybrid show where it feels as big as RAW or SmackDown,
yep,
and the quality of matches is good like NXT. They utilize a lot of different chess pieces. We got, the young names in MJF. We've got Jon Moxley as an established guy. Jake the effing Snake Roberts showed up last night. He cut a promo. And I'll say this, I'll challenge anybody, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, doesn't matter where. As soon as a guy from the 80s or 90s picks up a microphone,
people listen.
You understand why that era didn't need to be bell-to-bell wrestling. Yeah. Jake the Snake comes out, and I'm thinking, like, what is he doing here?
Interrupting Cody, too.
Interrupting neck tattoo Cody, who's just got...
I can't get over that thing.
Who just got this new swagger about him. He's focused on MJF. He says, I want to see MJF walk down to this ring and say, you beat me fair and square. And then this music hits. That's Jake the Snake Roberts. And he starts, Hail Caesar, Hail Caesar. I'm not here to praise you. I'm here to slay you. And I just went, okay, I am stopping what I'm doing and I'm going to listen to you. Look, and he said,
this is classic Jake the Snake. Came in, slow it down. He walked in and he's like, good for you, buddy. Everyone shout and yell. And he brought it down and he put the grizzle on the top. And you're going to listen to everything I say.
And then he gave him the, I fought to get clean for 20 years. I've earned this. Yeah. And everybody's like super into this. And then he just nails Cody with he says, I have a client coming in. And dark days are coming. And I don't want to take everything. We're not here to take everything. We don't want the whole pie. We just want your share. Now, first of all, Jake the Snake Roberts can still do it.
Yeah.
Cody, this is nepotism. Cody is making sure he gets to play with all the boys he's ever wanted to play with. And let's not mince words here. He did the thing with Tully. He's doing the thing with Arn.
Yep.
Jake the Snake called Arn Anderson a one-trick pony, by the way. I loved everything here.
I don't want to see them get into a fight.
Yeah, I do. Two surly old Southern boys just throwing down. I think Jake the Snake.
I got to open up for Jake when he started doing his storytelling shows a few years back, and got to sit in the room with him and talk before the show. And he wasn't. There was another wrestler on the show. It's not important that I say who the wrestler is because that it isn't like a rip on them. The other wrestler is like, and this is me doing comedy now for like 5 or 7 years. I'm not an expert. And so he says, yeah, well, if I frame it this way and I do some stories and stuff like that, does that work? And I was like, yeah. He's like, you kind of know what you're doing. It's really just me doing my stand-up act with some wrestling jokes in it and then setting them up to go up and tell stories. Jake, you don't have to tell anything to. He knew exactly what he wanted to do the entire time. He's very, very sure of himself when you give him time to speak. And also very, very riffy. You notice he could still have those lines and you had to deliver them with a spark and a bite to them. He knows let me be frank. He knows how to roast somebody. He really knows how to roast you down to your feet. And that's a very specific comedic skill. Example, you'll appreciate this. And we're talking and he goes, oh, you from Chicago? I was like, yeah. And I'm from here. I play sports or anything like growing up? He's just talking to me about where I grew up and stuff like that. I was like, I didn't play football, but I played soccer. And he goes, soccer? Like full contact soccer? It was, but the way he did it and he took the pause, like the way he chooses the shots he wants to take is so calculated. And I think being very calculated and not going over the top, and he was in such an era when everyone's so loud and all body guys. And that's another thing about Jake. Like you could never say, like, when he was in the ring wrestling, for the most part, he was never seen as a body guy, right?
No,
but he was a promo guy who could really deliver on carrying his gimmick and got so much out of doing so many things in a very specific, methodical way. So I think it was a very, very good promo. It was my favorite thing on AEW last night. They had a lot of great wrestling, but this is my favorite thing on the show last night. It sets up a lot of intrigue. It was odd because they advertised Lance Archer for the show, but there was a last-minute creative change, and we don't get him. So who is Jake the Snake bringing into AEW? Who do you think it is?
Brody Lee.
Brody Lee. Well, you're not going to get Brody Lee. Oh, you mean Brody Lee as in Luke Harper?
I mean Luke Harper.
There's two different Brodys. So Brody King. I'm thinking Brody King.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. Jake could do a lot with Brody King.
Give him both.
I like Brody King a lot. One of the names from ROH that I think is making some big-time moves and can make some big-time money. I think it's Luke Harper.
Yeah,
I think
known on the independents as Brody Lee. So we don't know what name Harper is going to work with under AEW just yet.
Oh no, Brody Lee. He's trademarked it. He owns it.
He has it.
Yeah, he owns it. I think Harper is gritty. He's grizzled. He's right up Jake's alley. Man, really, AEW is going to make some money. A little bit.
Steven Chambers, this would be a good pick. The former Impact World Champion who's on the fence mending with an injury. He said, what if it's Brian Cage? The Wolverine, the Machine, Brian Cage. That would
For
be
my money?
Yeah.
Too big. It's like Robbie Fisher manning, a bodybuilder. It's just mind and body. It's a great combo in some cases, but it's too big for Jake. Jake needs a guy who's subtle. Harper is subtle.
Yeah,
Harper can play notes.
And Harper doesn't need to speak and let Roberts be his mouthpiece if that works.
I mean, if it's Archer, by God, go ahead.
I was also a fan of this. I am a Chicago faithful. He's a guy I've known for quite some time. I absolutely love seeing this. Colt Cabana on national TV with SCU, another great pickup by AEW. They also rolled out a video where Colt revealed that outside of the Elite, he was one of the first wrestlers to hear about AEW becoming a thing in general, and how he was so happy and to be involved with it. I love his edition of it. I think not having him in the fold would be criminal.
I have been very vocal about this. Colt Cabana is the base of the DNA of everything that all Elite Wrestling is.
Yeah. The independent spirit, do it on our own.
And we're looking at 10 years this September that this man started the Art of Wrestling podcast, which started the small trek that has now blown up into what is AEW.
And also Pro Wrestling Tees. He was the guy who got them
to
start.
He literally is the guy.
Yeah. He's the guy. He is I would say this, he's probably quietly one of the most influential people in professional wrestling.
I don't think it should be quiet. I want it shouted from the rooftops because here's a guy who did it all when it wasn't supposed to be done.
Yeah. And it was funny. I remember So the things I know from Colt, I'm not friends with Colt, but Colt came on in 2007. I was doing a show called Rumble Radio in college, and he lived in Chicago, and we were doing interviews for Ring of Honor every 3 or 4 months on the show. And we said, "Oh, we would love to have you come in studio. Would you want to do that?" And he lived on the north side, south side of town. It's like the distance of going from like Manhattan to like New Jersey. It's a pretty long trek, right? Mm-hmm. So how did we get Colt to come down? We bought him submarine sandwiches. He wanted two submarine sandwiches, and he said, "I want an hour. Can I get an hour to do whatever I want on the radio?" And we were like, and it was college radio, so we kind of had the time to play with. And we gave him an hour. And if I find the audio of this, I will share it on the WrestleZone radio feed.
I think you need to.
This is some really, really ridiculous stuff. There's one where he does an F, Marry, Kill with a bunch of different wrestlers. There's just a bunch of wrestlers calling in, doing impressions of the Iron. Several different independent wrestlers calling in, and just a lot of. There's Brian D from Aberdeen, Washington. Break that one down if you know the name. Brian D from Aberdeen, Washington calls in.
Good old Brian Dixon from Aberdeen, Washington.
Brian Danielson called in to the show, and they kind of cut on each other. So it was really, really fun, and it was just an hour of him goofing around and having a lot of fun. And it was that was 2007, and then maybe like a year or so later, I think I got an email from him, and he was like, "Hey, where can I buy microphones online?" And this is like Amazon didn't just like sell everything at that point. And so it was like
he had to go to Radio Shack.
No, but he wanted something where he could get it online delivered somewhere or something. And I remember sending him to like a website that sold them. And then a couple months later, I'm like, "Oh, dude, this is what he was doing." And I was just like, "This is so cool." And he did such a good idea in interviewing wrestlers as wrestlers talk to each other. If you want to go back and just listen to a podcast that just is evergreen, Art of Wrestling is a really good show to do that. I know he said he would stop doing them every week, but he's now putting them out in chunks. So you're getting like 6 episodes released, almost like a Netflix type format drop where you get like a whole season at once. So keep up with the Art of Wrestling. If you want to listen to a great podcast where it's just interview based, that is the one to focus on. And you can go back and listen to the old ones. They're great.
It used to keep me great company while making drives to see family members. Like the Art of Wrestling podcast and Colt Cabana for a while was cannot miss listening content.
It still is. You know what I mean? He would have wrestlers on there that I didn't know anything about, but his jovial sense of like kinship with everyone, you could hear it right away. Like a lot of the fun things that you and I hear about with our show are like people love us making fun of each other and, jokes and different things. Like you can get people talking about wrestling in a lot of different places on the internet. Right. If you like the personality that comes through from us, if you like the personality from someone that you like on a podcast or a YouTube show or whatever, I think that's the thing that's going to keep you coming back. So if you come back to us, it's because, Robert will make fun of me and I'll make fun of him and we'll go back and forth at each other and we'll yell wrestles. Oh, like all that ridiculous stuff sometimes is the things that keep you coming back.
Yeah. And, I'm always grateful for the people that keep coming back. And for a while, I was a guy who kept coming back for some more Colt Cabana. And he fell off for a while. And I got a little upset about that. Like, I felt like he should have been more in the forefront when everybody was talking about Bullet Club and stuff like that. But I'm glad he is where he belongs.
While we're still in the realm of AEW and what they got to present last night, tell me about the Death Triangle, the new faction. A new faction has been launched in AEW.
The Death Triangle, which I've been told by one Iridian Fierro, sounds a lot better when you say it in Spanish. It's Pac and the Lucha Brothers. So they had the blueprint for this a year ago when they did like their first or second show because it was supposed to be Pac and Lucha Brothers against the Elite.
Yeah.
And now they're just going full tilt on them being a faction and a group. And I think this gives a lot of weight to the idea of trios championships being potentially a thing in All Elite Wrestling because you got a lot of stables, you got a lot of groups.
If they don't want to go for a straight up like championship belt that's defended all the time, I wouldn't mind like an annual tournament, like Chikara has their King of Trios or something like that. I do think there is something in wrestling about too many belts. I think WWE has that issue. I don't want to see AEW have that, especially for a show that's only on once a week.
Right. I can agree with that. But I like it. I like it. Pac can be a mouthpiece for two guys who don't speak English perfectly and just want to do this thing all day.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's gonna add some gravity to it. No pun intended. But Pac is gonna have a lot of fun with it.
Jess Alt texting and said they don't need another faction. Does AEW have too many factions? Because they already tried one and got rid of it quickly. So the Nightmare Collective thing came and went very, very quickly. Dark Order is still a faction that's put together. The Elite, I guess, is a faction, even though they're having matches with each other. Does AEW have too many factions?
Yes. Short and simple, yes. I think you run into a little bit of TNA territory because TNA loved their factions. But I think if you play it right, and you can make the argument of New Japan, right? New Japan, everybody has an alignment. You're either in, Taguchi Japan, or you're in Bullet Club, or you're in Chaos, or you're in Los Ingobernables de Japón.
Yeah, that is something when I tune in New Japan, I'm like, this is hard. This is getting
and everybody's got an affiliation. That's cool. You need a home base. You need your boys. But is it too much? I think it's going to become too much when you're looking at Jon Moxley, who's the champion, who could say, I'm a lone wolf. I'm an outlaw. I think that to me is going to be where the money is, because soon enough you're going to be like, this guy's got this guy and this guy's got that guy, but I'm just me. So up yours.
Coming up in a little bit, we will cover this Sunday's WWE Elimination Chamber, and we will take your questions before we end the show. But what do you think about that? They're still going with Moxley versus Jericho. They were involved in the tag match as well. They opened the show with the promo. Moxley with one hell of a scar on his forehead after a great match on Saturday where he took the title off Jericho. It was the big story coming out of Revolution. They have a new champion here. But they launched him off the stage. They've once again laid out Jon Moxley. They're continuing Moxley versus Jericho. What do you think of this angle coming out of this week's Dynamite?
I think that it's smart. I think no reason to rush Jericho out of the title picture.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good for Moxley. Give him some familiar ground to breathe on. They clearly set up MJF. That's the next challenger, though, so we're going to get there. I like it. I like Moxley. He feels rejuvenated. He feels refreshed. He feels alive. They did the Shield Powerbomb, by the way, which I thought was cool. They ended the show with a Shield Powerbomb, and instead of everybody putting their fists in, they all put their middle fingers in, like,
because we can do this.
It's a devastating move, right? Like, Jake Hager powerbombing you, nobody's going to be none the wiser. But if you know, and I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Let's get into Elimination Chamber. It is this Sunday, maybe one too many pay-per-views going into WrestleMania with Super Showdown last week, and a lot of people had opinions about it. I thought WWE television, I thought Raw this past week was better than Super Showdown. Not a great sentiment there. I thought Raw and SmackDown were better than the pay-per-view it built to. But we do have Elimination Chamber. We do have that big cage structure. We do have the gimmick of the cage. There was an announced men's Elimination Chamber, which isn't happening now. We're getting one with the tag teams on SmackDown and one with the women. What are you looking at with Elimination Chamber this Sunday on the network?
To get it over with, so we can move on to the road to WrestleMania. I'm not being mean.
You are mean. You are being mean.
I am not being mean. Well, let's run down this card. All right, at the very top of the bill, we have Elimination Chamber match. Winner faces Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch at WrestleMania. It's Natty, Liv Morgan, Shayna Baszler, Asuka, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, and they're not even mincing words. Becky's gimmick is, yawn, there's 5 other women. Let's get this over with, Shayna. Let's go. That's your main event for the show. It's Sarah Logan, who was the queen of main event for a while. Ruby Riott just came back, looks great. Asuka's always good. Liv Morgan still has a lot of potential to her. And Natty, but all eyes are on Baszler. And that's your main takeaway match.
Does Baszler wreck everyone in this match? Do they make this a showcase for her?
She absolutely wrecks everybody in this match.
Which could be entertaining. You know, I mean, if you're going for not just a squash, but you're going for this like slaughtering of the entire division, and you want to really make sure that people believe that Shayna can take out Becky, this could do that. You know, if you really want to showcase off Shayna. Shayna had a match this week on Raw, and she looked strong against Kairi Sane. But we were supposed to get Asuka, then you had Kairi because of an injury, so there was some mishigash there. Here, I think this is where Shayna can come out. If you want to move the needle, Baszler wrecks everyone. You know, she comes into this match with that cage element and destroys people, injures people, puts not just one or two of them on the shelf, but a couple. And you just think she's the female Brock Lesnar. If they can give that vibe coming out of this match, and you know this, Robert, we've had WWE pay-per-views where people go in and they're like, I don't know, you know, there's something here, but it doesn't feel like it feels like a dull knife, right? Baszler in that cage can be an attraction. And if they make it look big once, imagine what they can do if they put her in a cage again. And I really think there could be something special. There's potential there. Now, does that happen? No. But WWE's exceeded expectations on big network specials, especially in the past year. You know, we knew Survivor Series was going to be a fun show, and it was. You know, and it was a particularly good show. And sometimes these shows that aren't like the big four tend to deliver some surprises. This is the one of the Elimination Chambers matches that I expect the most from.
Well, you mentioned we have more than one. The other match is the SmackDown Tag Team Championships contested in the Elimination Chamber. It's the champions, Miz and John Morrison, defending against Brother Rude and Dolph Ziggler, the Lucha House Party, Heavy Machinery, the New Day, and the Usos. This seems like it's just there to be there. Mm-hmm. I feel like we're going to get Otis and Dolph. I think that that's, for some reason, a bigger picture event than the tag titles. And I see potentially the Usos walking away here.
So you definitely see new tag champs coming out of this match?
I don't definitely see, because Miz and Morrison just won them. But I feel like we can hot potato a little bit, and everybody will be okay with that.
I see Miz and Morrison keeping those titles, but still some type of multi-team situation going into WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think this is the match where almost maybe it seems like Miz and Morrison kind of skin through the skin of the teeth, through cheating means, through nefarious things, shenanigans, if you will. Shenanigans,
chicanery, and tomfoolery will all be there.
What's that line in Super Troopers when they're goofing around and the chief comes in and they're like they've shoved somebody in a locker and covered him in shaving cream, and he goes, you guys are up to sorry, chief, we're up to shenanigans. Sorry.
I call shenanigans. You know, I'm calling shenanigans, Kevin. I'm calling
shenanigans one more time, I'm going to shoot you myself. So, and then they yelled at Farva, and they go, Farva, what's that place we go and get chicken wings by the mall? He's like, oh, the place with crazy crap in the wall, shenanigans. So it was, So shenanigans will be about. Something will happen in this match where Miz and Morrison, I think, get the belts, and we get maybe a ladder match, maybe something at WrestleMania that's over the top.
I think we get a standard 3-way.
Okay.
You know, I would hope not. I think it's Miz, Morrison, Usos, and New Day. I'd like a ladder match. You know, Michael off bringing up AJ versus Black, no DQ. I think this is set up for Undertaker to come in and wreck stuff. You know, underneath that, you've got Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo again for the United States title. I think Humberto gets it here. And I think we maybe get a triple threat or a 4-way with Angel Garza and Rey Mysterio.
Mm-hmm. So plenty to think about there. Is there anything on this pay-per-view you think that's really going to maybe lay something up big for WrestleMania time? Because we got Goldberg. We got Goldberg winning the title at Super Showdown. What do you think comes out of Elimination here? What's the talking point Sunday night going into Monday night?
If there is anything outside of, hey, Becky and Shayna is official, then we don't know about it yet, and it will be some kind of talking segment that we get mid-show.
Mm-hmm. They've done that before. They've cut angles and things like that on pay-per-view. So I mean, there's a possibility of something there.
Yeah.
Aleister Black versus AJ Styles, no DQ. We were supposed to get these guys one-on-one this past week on Raw. I know some people think, oh, WWE, it's bait and switch, right? I heard that knee-jerk reaction to it. I get that to a degree, but you did get them in the ring together, and they did get physical, and they did have a match. But it was more or less a glorified gauntlet match for AJ to beat him down and, do his pose like The Undertaker as he pinned him, right? He did that.
He did do that.
And it was cool, and we know the direction they're going in. If Aleister Black is the middleman to get Styles there, and they do a no DQ match, and Undertaker shows up at this again, that's kind of cool. And I would say more intriguing than him showing up at Super Showdown. I want to see some interaction as an alliance with Aleister Black and The Undertaker.
No.
I think that would be cool. If The Undertaker takes on Styles at WrestleMania, Aleister Black in his corner, what do you think?
It's not bad in theory. I kind of worry about putting too many bells and whistles around The Undertaker. Let The Undertaker be.
He's all bells and whistles. He's gongs, man.
That's what I'm saying. Let him be that. I don't think you need to dress it up any more than it is. It's the Phenom versus the Phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Just do the match.
Okay. I do think this match will be the one outside of the Elimination Chambers that'll be the most interesting this Sunday.
Yes, because I think you can very easily get something WrestleMania worthy going.
You also get Braun Strowman versus Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sami Zayn, a 3-on-1 match for the Intercontinental Championship.
Correct.
I'm saying that with a question.
So I believe all three men have viable opportunity to gain this championship. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Braun retains, and he's on a collision course with Sheamus for WrestleMania.
Now, also noticeably is absent on the show is Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan, for now. I mean, Friday night, you could add another match. They've been teasing something, oddly. If you're telling me Daniel Bryan, big star, right? Still very over, right? Is in an angle with Drew Gulak. Now, Drew Gulak, former Cruiserweight champion, has been on SmackDown for a few months, but seems like a serviceable guy. They fed him to Braun Strowman. They've done some different things, but obviously they have WWE has some reliance in his ability to be a good talker. And he's really just been talking up this idea that Daniel Bryan doesn't listen to him for advice. Are they going to do Drew Gulak versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania?
No, I think they're going to do it on the kickoff show of Elimination Chamber.
Okay. All right.
I don't mean that. I'm sorry. I feel like you're going somewhere with that, and I undercut you, and I feel bad about it, buddy, and I'm sorry. But I think we get a Shinsuke. I'm going with Shinsuke versus Bryan.
You were dead set on that Shinsuke Nakamura versus Daniel Bryan.
But here is my rationale for this. Bryan is fighting Drew Gulak, which definitely means Bryan is handpicking who he's fighting. Because nobody on the SmackDown creative team is going, you know what we need? We need Drew Gulak versus Bryan likes Gulak because Gulak can wrestle.
Yeah.
And Bryan wants to wrestle. So
and WWE wants Daniel Bryan to be happy and to stay with the company. So
Bryan wants Nakamura. And if along the way Bryan can interact with his longtime friend Sami Zayn and wrestle his longtime friend and in-ring rival Cesaro, I think that will make Bryan very happy.
And so Mciran Davis chiming in and you're saying Drew Gulak versus Matthew Riddle, who said his name very formally, was sick. Him versus Daniel Bryan will be exciting. I agree. I think Gulak and their styles match up really well. I think they could have a really, really strong bell-to-bell match with what they do in the ring bell-to-bell. So a bunch of different things here. And people want the Monday Night Messiah versus the Second City Savior. People still want Seth Rollins versus CM Punk.
I don't know. The way those backstage ratings have been, they might just have CM Punk challenge Rollins just to pop a number.
This has been a story. Tell me about backstage this week. You covered this. You thought this was a bigger story than I did. We're about to get into questions. Get your questions ready if you're with us live. Fire them off to us, and we will answer them live here as we go into the final segment of the show. WWE Backstage, not a good rating this week.
They did 18,000 viewers.
What was going on Tuesday?
That was Super Tuesday. So that's everybody's watching the news, trying to figure out who's going to be the Democratic frontrunner to go up against Trump in November. That's got to be the reason for the 109,000 viewership drop.
It's a late night show too. What
it
time?
Is a late night show.
I only watch it on demand because I'm usually out at an open mic on Tuesday nights. So I usually end up watching it later in the week. Like I usually tend to watch it on Friday afternoons or something like that. I enjoy it. It's a good show. WWE Backstage is not a bad show. Like the way they put it together, the way they do the kind of retrospective stuff, the talk segments. A lot of people say, oh, they're only talking in character. If you watch it, you gotta watch. Not most of the people that complain about it are just watching clips.
They're very out of character. I don't know who says that.
Yeah, they're very out of character.
Renee Young is just sitting there going, "Oh, this storyline sucks," and it's not my cup of tea. I will say that I was one of the people watching Super Tuesday because I'm a dork, but that has to be the reason for the major drop. But either way, it's never a good thing to see a show that you've invested in with a new partner sink to as low as 18,000 viewers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
I don't think it's the end of the world. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, aha, look at them, they're falling. Yeah. But no, it's just not good.
True. A lot of different takes there on things here. As questions kind of come in, I'm really putting them together. Here we go. Faithful fan of the show with us on every single episode. Love you guys are with us on every episode. James Espanto Fernando Tagahol Big Cap Broso. What are your Elimination Chamber picks? Broso? Don't summon the name. Don't summon the name of the evil Vince Broso, the demonic version of Vince Russo that lives inside my buddy Robert DeFelice.
Now, Kevin Callum, I gotta tell you, I gotta stop you right there, okay? James Espanto Fernando wants to know what my predictions are for WWE Elimination Chamber 2020. My predictions are that whoever the writers choose to go over are friggin' going over, bro. It's a fake show. That's what I predict. Okay? But Stevie Wonder can friggin' see that Shayna Baszler is going to win the Elimination Chamber match. I mean, does anybody really think that Sarah Logan and her Vikings have a chance? No, she's just there to get thrown around by Shayna, and it's good business, and I like Shayna because she's got a character. Biting the neck thing?
She has a what?
Kevin, I said she has a character. The biting the neck thing, I tried to do that with Gangrel back in 99. They said no. There are just some things that are just too far. But I'm glad they got to do it today. Now you go down this card, you got the Monday Night Messiah. Yeah, right. Please. Seth Rollins looks like a guy who is making my order at Starbucks.
Hey!
And Kevin Owens looks like the guy that just got out of the gym. I don't know why they think this guy is a star. They give him the friggin' stunner. Are you kidding me? The stunner was one of the most over moves when I was booking. It was one of the most over moves that's ever thing. And you give it to this guy who looks like average Joe. And I don't know what they're trying to accomplish, but I couldn't friggin' care less. Now you look at the tag teams. Does anybody care about tag teams? No. Yeah. And I guarantee you, neither does Vince. So let's just move on from that. You got Andrade versus Humberto Carrillo. Like, okay, good opener. These guys can wrestle. You can satiate the mocks with that stuff. And like, let's just keep the focus on Selena and keep moving on. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That is where the money is.
Vince Broso, I dispel you. I dispel you to the wrestling region. To back to the dimension from which you came. WCW, WCW Nitro, WCW Nitro. I say it 3 times and it sends you back to the evil realm from which you came. Ah, yes. As you know, if you're a common WrestleZone daily viewer, that is the demonic possession of Vince Russo that lives within Robert DeFelice. Robert, I'm saying if we say Broso 3 times, he appears, just like Candyman. But we move on.
I'm glad that you people enjoy
We move on. Robert's in a weak and physical state. He's coming off a cold.
I am.
So I don't even know physically how you maintain that. AJ Harris says WWE has to do something to redeem Bray losing to Goldberg. So many fans upset about that. Is Fiend versus Cena really what is needed?
No. Here's the problem, pal. And like Kevin, I feel like I'm so negative about this that it's just the polar opposite of what we typically preach. But they've killed Bray Wyatt for like the 4th time.
How did they kill him? How did they kill him? People are saying they killed him. Did they really kill him? Did they really kill the guy? He was in the main event on the paper. Yes. Did he get squashed in the main event on the paper? Yes.
Kev, come on. I know enjoy wrestling is the thing, but come on. 4 spears and a jackhammer that barely look like a jackhammer, and we're done with the Fiend. Anybody that looks, it's not that they killed him. They can always make him appear to be more of a monster, but it's the message you're sending is that these guys, whether it's Bryan, Miz, even Roman when they get there, they're not as strong as 53-year-old Bill Goldberg.
Yeah.
That is a long-term issue. In the short term, it was a great visual. It's great. And it's a long-term issue. And you're asking me, is Fiend versus Cena what is really needed? My concern is that John is so willing to give back and is so understanding towards the plight of the everyday WWE superstar that he's going to put over the Fiend.
What's the problem with that? Isn't that what people? I mean, the hardcore fans who think they have to redeem something aren't you going to? Hey, those hardcore fans, they don't hate John Cena, but they love when he takes the knee. They love when he goes down.
I feel like John's taken the knee too many times at WrestleMania lately. I feel like if you go back through the last 5 or 6 years of him at Mania, he hasn't
been the big time player.
No,
so it does wrong to John to have him lose.
Yes. Now you're saying, no, well, you don't need to be worried about doing wrong to John. John is evergreen. And I can agree with you there. But I would like to see John have one last run.
He doesn't have to have that now. He doesn't have to have that now. He doesn't have that now. He doesn't. Bray's going to beat him at WrestleMania. That's why I see this going right now.
Fair.
If they get me to doubt it, then you've made a more compelling story for WrestleMania.
Fair.
And I think it is what's needed. It is the biggest match you can do with both guys. I think Reigns versus Goldberg is an attraction for a very casual audience. And Cena is an attraction for a casual fan. But Fiend is the hardcore wrestling fan supernatural character right now, next to The Undertaker, right? And you get to do Superman versus Doomsday. You get to do a comic book battle in 2 different matches with 2 different appeals to them. I think Cena versus Fiend is a very fine match on paper. Can they bungle it before they get there? Yeah, possibly. But I like it on paper. I think it is what's needed. And I think Cena is the best guy. You can hang with him and cut promos that have more meaningful weight instead of me just talking on a Titantron and here are puppets and people pay attention to the puppets. Now laugh at the goon in the ring. I don't think you get that same dynamic that we've seen with Bray and other people. You get something different with Cena and Bray. They do have some history. Bray lost to him at WrestleMania years ago. I expect that to be brought up. I expect that to be used there. Bray is a character who constantly makes Easter egg references to his past, and he has passed with John Cena. The paper is there. They just started the story. I say let it play out before we say it's already to be judged.
That's fair.
Okay. Next question. Let's get into it, baby. Let's get into your questions here. People saying Bray getting squashed here. How many FUs will he take at WrestleMania? He'll take more than a couple, but he'll still get up.
3.
3 spears though, and a jackhammer. He's done. Yes. Yeah. Yes, you're right. James Espanto, once again, faithful fan, saying the power of kayfabe compels you, Russo, to leave the body. Yeah, he compels you. Yeah. And Stephen Chambers bringing this up in AEW. Nyla Rose is their new women's champion. She had decisive victories over Chris Statlander at the recent Revolution pay-per-view. Who could step up against her? Who is that person that AEW needs in their women's division to be the challenger to the native beast? I My worry is I don't think you have a formidable challenger ready to go for Nyla right now.
It looks like they're building Big Swole. But you can always do the triple threat with Britt Baker because she's been all around the tournament. Not tournament, the title picture.
Mm-hmm. Anna Williams, Big A Dub are the women's tag team titles. I believe she's talking about the WWE women's tag team titles. Yes, had nothing. Are they lost cause? Nothing has been done with them for a while. Almost. I would say almost, all but almost. They're on Kairi Sane and Asuka, but Kairi had that really bad injury coming out of the pay-per-view in December. I don't think they were a lost cause then. I don't think they're a lost cause because December is not that long ago, except there's so much WWE television pay-per-views since then. We've had 2 pay-per-views and so much weekly television. So Kairi was on the shelf for a while. They didn't want to take the belts off of them because of injury. Asuka stayed in the mix with Becky Lynch. So I wouldn't say they're completely a lost cause, but you definitely think you have to get something going if you want to feature those in some way or another at WrestleMania and in some faction. I think the best thing you could do with those titles is not have them defended on WrestleMania, but on NXT TakeOver. I think Kairi Sane and Asuka having a match with a fun, put-together tag team of NXT female talent at TakeOver would be pretty cool. Now, that's just fantasy booking. I wouldn't say they're a completely lost cause, but they're definitely lost cause means they're done. Like, that's it. There's nothing else you can ever do with them. But they're definitely they need something. They definitely need something because those are, I wouldn't say they're near life support, but they're definitely in the emergency room.
Yeah, they need to do something new with those belts because they're not getting anything done right now.
Oh, here we go. Getting asked this question here. How do we feel about Rowan's fake spider? I covered this on the Raw post show this week. Eric Rowan been coming around for months saying he has something in his cage, and he finally revealed what was in his little cage that was covered, and it was a robotic spider. People crapped on it. It's Russell crap through and through. But WWE's been good about doing terrible things that turn into fun things, and I don't know, maybe it turns into something. It was definitely like an eye roll when I saw it. But I appreciate it wasn't something that wasn't a monster or a creature, I had someone, I can't remember who commented, said it should be Hornswoggle in the cage. I thought that would be really fun.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
But then people would have been like, you're putting people in cages, so
yeah.
They knee-jerk thing. Kevin Durgan texting in, Ricochet, did he do something wrong? Are they building him up to join Rollins' fold? Ricochet suffered a major squashing loss with 0 offense against Brock Lesnar at Super Showdown. Then lost another match against Riddick Moss, a guy who just been on Raw for less than a few weeks, who's the 24/7 champion, which is not a title that many people think of as prestigious. Has Ricochet done anything? Well, Wrestling Observer's Dave Meltzer says that Vince McMahon, head honcho of WWE, has given up on Ricochet. I hear that a lot. I don't know if he's given up on him, but he definitely feels like much less of a star coming out of this week.
All right. And I've been accused on other shows of having bias against Dave. But I mean, anybody with eyes can make an educated guess that, hey, well, I guess Vince McMahon has given up on Ricochet. That doesn't make it a report. It doesn't make it factual. I want to put that out there right now. I can tell you right now that I have eyes, and it sure as hell looks like to me that Ricochet is not a star in anybody's eyes with any creative pull. And I don't like it. I don't like where it's going. You would hope that it's, well, they're building to something. But sometimes the sad reality is no, they're not. And this is Ricochet's position. Jinder Mahal was WWE champion, though. That doesn't mean that it's the end of the line for Ricochet. Anything can happen in WWE. Right now, he's just eating a little bit of poop, and he's got to just sit through it.
Now, Robert, I'm going to throw something at the wall. I'm going to throw it at a wall. Throw it over the wall, right over here. I'm going to see it's right. I'm going to throw it right there, right where you guys can see right here. I'm going to throw something at that wall. All right, here I am. I'll put the idea in my hand. I got the idea in my hand. Okay, I've thrown out a lot of ideas on the show today. Right? We're almost a month away from WrestleMania. I'm going to throw this idea out there. Okay, the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal.
Okay.
Features all the superstars who don't have a singles match or a tag team match at WrestleMania, correct?
Okay.
And you have told me for a while.
I'm giving up on that idea, I think.
You're giving up on that idea? Go back in the episodes, listen to Robert's ridiculous Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal prediction. Okay, here's mine. Ricochet loses and loses and loses matches going into WrestleMania season, right? And he continues to fall down the ladder. Former United States champion, just can't get it together. What's going on with Ricochet? This guy used to be good. He stepped against Brock, he got squashed, and he hasn't been able to put it together since. Now he's going to dig down deep and figure out a way to get himself back in the mix. One graceful victory gets him in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and I say he wins the Battle Royal. I say they beat him down to rocket him back up. And you have a rising superstar coming out of WrestleMania on the undercard, and his name is Ricochet.
That is a great build. That implies that in the past 5 years, the trophy has elevated anybody. But that is a great build. In theory, that is fantastic, and I commend you for it. But right now, I think Ricochet is on the back burner until Money in the Bank, when they go, you can jump off of ladders. Go do that thing where you jump off of ladders. That's freaking awesome. Did you see him? He jumped off that ladder. That's just the way I see it.
Scott George, faithful fan of the show. Thank you so much, Scott. He says, do you guys think The Undertaker is really upset with WWE about leaving Michelle McCool off the Women's History Month feature they did on their website recently? Of course, this is from a very, very suspect tweet from The Taker, from Undertaker's official Twitter account. Yes, The Taker man tweeting too late, too little, too late. Too little, too late. And it was got a lot of people talking. Undertaker pissed. Does the Undertaker use Twitter like that? I know he has a Twitter and he has an Instagram, but it's still like
that is his verified Twitter.
His verified Twitter, yes.
That is his verified Twitter.
Yeah.
He thinks Michelle just clicked the wrong button that day.
She switched to the wrong account.
Yeah. Wrong button, Michelle. I'm sorry. We appreciate you for social media managing your husband.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't think there's much to be seen there. I think Undertaker's a WWE lifer. I don't think you ever see him wrestle or perform anywhere else. And I think Michelle McCool is somebody they could put in the Hall of Fame next year if they wanted to. I don't think there's anything there. I don't think there's much to it. Is there a little bit of a barb like, hey, I'm Michelle McCool. I'm a big hand, Also, Michelle McCool, when she was in that Women's Rumble, not this year, but the year before, looked great. You hadn't seen her in years. And was phenomenal in that match and put on a great show in there. So I could definitely get with it there. Right. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Now, I'm sorry to snuff out that Undertaker story, but I don't think there's any smoke there beyond a tweet. Okay, there's no fire, so don't run with it here. Robert, I know you are busy across the wrestling media spectrum. What do you have? And I want you guys to check out the stuff he's doing too.
Oh well, thank you. I do hope that I'm not just speaking in vain and that people do check out what I'm doing.
His name once. Okay.
Well,
one time.
I do. Well, first of all, I do Smart Out Moment. I just did very short Elimination Chamber preview because there was a lot of meat on the bone, as we discussed on this show. Yes. I also did something on Fanboys Anonymous, which is also the same thing, Tony Mango, where we just discussed superhero movies as a Patreon thing. So that'll be up on the YouTube channel there for Fanboys Anonymous. Now, I do also work Fightful.com. You know who runs the website. I'm not even going to say his name.
Oh, thank you. Oh, good.
Yeah. Great source. Got a lot of things right.
Didn't say his name. I'm relieved. You didn't say his name. I'm relieved.
Fightful Select. Run by the same man who I will not say on this show. Great scoops. Get a lot of great scoops. You know the name. You know the initials. SRS. Does good things.
Pushing it. Okay. We're good now? We done?
We're good.
We're done with Flex. I'm messing with you. I will be on stage for Don't Tell Comedy in Chicago at a venue. I don't even know where it is. It's a fun pop-up show. go to don'ttellcomedy.com and search for Chicago. I'll be doing that show on March 13th, March 20th, and March 21st. I will be at the Cut Up Steakhouse performing a headlining set. All right, I'll be going the distance on this one. 2 different nights, March 20th, March 21st, Valparaiso, Indiana, and that is at Cut Up Steakhouse. Very, very cool thing. You get a whole steak dinner and that type of stuff. Robert, you and I are going to WrestleMania, and we have to figure out our meetup thing. So I'd love to do a photo with a bunch of different people. So that'd be fun. So we have to figure that out. So give me a follow on Twitter at Kev Kellum. Give him a follow at Dude Felice. And of course, check out everything we're doing at WrestleZone.com. Kudos to the team here. We're launching something in the month of March. You know, there's the big basketball tournament in the NCAA.
NCAA, thank you.
Yeah, I always mess up the double A part. They call that March. I can't say the whole thing because we'll get sued, right? So March is coming up, and the big March tournament is going to happen. But we're doing something even better. We're doing Theme Music Madness, a tournament of the best wrestling theme songs. What is the best wrestling theme song? You will decide at WrestleZone.com in the month of March. So go check out that. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Search WrestleZone Radio. We're starting to throw up TV reviews on there as well. So you're getting additional content on the audio feed. And check us out on YouTube. We've been going for nearly 70 minutes, Robert. We've had quite the show today. Thank you so much. Hopefully you guys enjoy this over the weekend. Listen to it in bits and chunks wherever you are. And thank you so much for everything going on here and supporting the show. The growth in the show is so credible. I know we have dozens of people that join us on live shows. We love you guys on the podcast too. So we really, really appreciate it. You have a lot of choices. You choose us. We really, really are thankful. Thank you so much. Do that thing when you watch wrestling. What's the thing when you watch wrestling, Robert?
Enjoy wrestling.